Hello, Warrior TV. Steve Knapp, the Mindset Warrior, and Tessa Spadberg, the Resilient Warrior, here for the latest edition of Empower You. And tonight, to honour Anti-Bullying Week, we thought we'd kick off the topic of workplace bullying and sort of have a big discussion around what it looks like, who it affects, some benefits that you can take away to work towards ending it. And if you could, and some things that you might be able to notice that you're a bully yourself. So how you going, Tessa? Happy Tuesday.
Hey, great. Happy Tuesday. Happy Tuesday. Yeah, what a great week. It's actually, it's sad that we have to have something like an anti-bullying week. Hey, I mean.
Yeah, it's sad in one respect, but it's also good just for the awareness factor, I think, because I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would misconstrue what they're doing, thinking it's just a bit of fun and not even realise that it could be considered bullying or harassment and that sort of thing. So I think it's good to have a little bit of awareness around these topics to give people a bit better understanding.
Yeah, it's so true. I think that's such a valid point because sometimes people think that, their practical jokes are funny. And often it's at the expense of the other person and it's not really an inclusive joke. So, yeah, I hear what you're saying about that.
Yeah, and I suppose it can be generational too. Like a lot of things that were totally acceptable 15, 20 years ago are now totally unacceptable and they've just been totally replaced in life cycles. So I think depending on your age too, you can have a totally different understanding of what you're saying, whether it's relevant and allowed or if it's going to be offending someone unintentionally, I suppose.
Yeah, so exactly. That's so true. So I guess what you're saying is it's so good to have the awareness and just bring everyone up onto the same page, like what's acceptable to most people, or maybe it's different cultures. So in your culture, some things are okay to do and say, or in your family, as you said, but in other cultures or other families, it's really not okay. And it's actually could be hurtful and harmful because bullying is really, it's mentally and physically like dangerous to our health.
Yeah, it can be really detrimental. Oh, and it's shout out time. I just see that Adam and Kerry are here. So before we dig deeper into bullying in the workplace, we better give a massive shout out.
Yes.
A big 30th birthday to the Warrior Queen. So good to see you tuning in on your birthday.
Hey, Kerry, happy birthday. I hope you're having a fabulous day. I know it's only starting for you. And Adam, best you be spoiling her rotten.
He's on his best behaviour this morning. I've checked in already.
Did you? Yeah. Yeah, I know. So it's such a great topic, especially in the situation where we are today, where so many workplaces are going through restructuring their mental health, trying to inform staff and giving them the resources, about bullying, about mental health, and trying to end the stigma. And that's why we're having the conversation around this, because bullying is really detrimental and can lead to such severe circumstances for the person being bullied. Sometimes people, with all the stress, the pressure, and the harassment, and the unreasonable and it's repeated bullying, because it's not just a once-off thing, it's repeated. So it's actually extremely traumatic and can lead to suicide, which is really, really a scary thing to think about, but it happens.
Yeah, well said, Rob Cummins. He's jumped on to say hello and says bullying is never okay. Spot on, Rob.
Hey,
there's
Rob.
There's a man that doesn't bully. He champions everyone around him. Love the big fella.
Yeah, absolutely. But I guess let's jump into like you said, some people may not think they're bullying. Like what do you think they would be doing
Yeah, well,
instead?
100%. Like if you've been brought up, say, just an Anglo-Saxon background, and it's all you've ever known, you've sort of been in a pocket of the world where that's basically everyone you interact with, and you can quite easily have your own in jokes and things around what you perceive as acceptable, because it always has been. But then you go into a workplace that's very multicultural, and things that you would never even have expected in the past to be offensive could totally blow someone away with just a simple one-line joke or throwaway comment. And without the awareness, you've got no idea the damage that you're causing, because you've just never been in that situation. So I think it's a lot of bullying comes down to putting a bit of emphasis on us as individuals to do a bit of knowledge, a bit of groundwork, and a bit of understanding around how we can affect other people through our words and actions.
Yeah, spot on. And I mean, I guess you are really talking about the unaware people.
Yeah.
But often we also have people that bully for the sake of it, because it's a power game. It's a power hungry game. They enjoy it. Sometimes there's even jealousy and envy involved, or they feel that they want the skills that the person that they're bullying has. And so they just like nasty or set out to target the person.
Yeah, and it seems really rife in that sort of middle management level where the people aren't quite at the top of the food chain, but they've climbed their way out of the bottom. It tends to be really rife there. Like, they're always wanting to attack the people below them because they've got that fear that someone's catching up and might climb above them on the ladder. And then on the other side of the coin, they're wanting to attack the people above them because they feel they need to drag them down to be able to take their spot. So I think that's a real nasty space in the corporate world and in office politics, that management level where it's just, I'm going to destroy everyone around me for my own personal gains. It's pretty horrendous when you have to rely on those tactics rather than backing in your own abilities and having an ethic that sort of carries you into those positions of your own accord.
Yeah, so true. And I guess those people come from a space where, and there's various reasons for them being the bullies that they are. So it could even be low self-esteem.
Yeah.
Like we said, a little bit of envy or jealousy, or trying to hold others back. But then it can also be that they may have been bullied themselves.
100%.
And now they have the opportunity to assert themselves, or how they think things should be.
Yeah, and even basic things like the pressure of expectation and having parents that have really hammered into you from a young age that you've got to do this to be successful and you have to achieve so much, that can really create that mindset of, I've really got to do whatever it takes to get to where that expectation level lies, or I'm not going to be loved, I'm not going to be worthy in the family relationship. There's so many dynamics to this that's not, bullying's just so not cut and dry, is it? It comes from every.
Yeah, there's so many dynamics and so many facets to what people believe how they're doing. So they might be thinking that they are actually good managers, and that they are allowed to criticize, or they're allowed to pull apart someone's work. That's just the way things done. And like we were talking about it earlier, like in the old school, you used to get hammered. Like, you needed to do something quite specific, and that's the only way it was done. It was this way or the highway. That's how some people were taught. I remember a lady saying to me, she was in PR, and she had an editor who used to pull apart everything they wrote and send it back so many times. And that was the old fashioned way of doing things, I guess, trying to get people to be the best that they can be. They didn't realize how, I guess, detrimental to the psyche and the mental health
Oh,
that could
100%.
have been, you
Yeah,
know?
it's all stick and no carrot. There's no reward. It's just all punishment to think that's what's going to get the best out of people. And it's quite interesting how the studies of recent times have changed to show that the praise and the expectation on the little things that are being done well goes a lot further than brutality and punishment constantly around how somebody's going about their job and their work they're putting out. That just, those, especially with the new generations coming through, the punishment just does not work anymore. It's got to be a nurturing, loving environment to see success, or people are going to walk. There's never been a time like this where people are in and out of jobs so fast. There's no, I don't think anyone feels security from their employer, and most people generally don't have a real loyalty factor to their employer either. So I think if you're in a toxic environment and you're not feeling comfortable and your work's warranted, then people are going to walk quicker than any other time in history, I think.
Yeah. And it is so detrimental for companies and so expensive because they lose millions upon billions of dollars because they're constantly having to retrain staff, the manpower, the loss in time, the pressure on everyone when they haven't supported that person, and now that person's work needs to be shared until someone else can be employed. If that's what they're doing, that's when they're walking. However, some people are fearful of losing their jobs, and so they take the bullying. They, they don't know, I guess, what to do, and so it's really sad when that happens, when people feel they don't have a voice or they can't stand up for themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is quite horrific. I mean, I've been there. I've been on both sides of the fence. I'm not gonna sugarcoat or lie about anything. I've been bullied. Yeah. I've been a bully. I don't think I've really been a bully in the workplace so much. Maybe young days, because if you wanted to see what bullying was like, get on a building site as a tradesman before the 2000s, because it had to happen. It was a rite of passage. Every young bloke had to be bullied in some form, had to be the butt of every joke, it was just the way it was done. And I think, as we said before, with the change in eras, you'd almost feel bullied if you weren't getting bullied, because you're like, what's wrong with me? Everyone else cops this shit. Why am I not getting it? And it's like, you almost feel like you're missing out. So it was a totally different time. But it's not easy. I think, especially now, I'm finding in the workplace, it's very much like the kids at school. The bullying doesn't end when you leave the office, because you've got the emails, and so many of us have work phones. Like, you've got your personal phone, but then it's always your work phone that rings when you're in the middle of dinner, and there's always one last minute thing that can't be left until you're back at work tomorrow. And so it's a 24/7 thing, which I think's what's really putting a strain on the mental health of people that are on the receiving end in this current age too.
Yeah. And I guess for, some things, how to describe what does bullying look like? It is threats, like humiliation, when you, like we said earlier, you're the brunt of that practical joke, and it's not actually funny. No one else finds it funny. It's just really at your expense. And then things that also happen is like harsh criticism on your work. And it's not to say that we don't want the work to be looked at and feedback to be given. And even if it is, I guess, negative feedback, but not negative feedback, room for improvement feedback, I'd say. That needs to happen. That needs to happen in a workplace. Everyone needs feedback and how they can improve and how they can move forward. But I think, we're talking about the way it's done. It's 100%. Not unreasonable. It's not where you can't explain why your way is better and why is my way wrong. Also, like, some forms of bullying that happen is when people get left out of meetings. They're just not invited, or they are, and these are some of the signs that we're talking about. So, if you're feeling uncomfortable, these are some of the signs. You walk into a room and your colleagues ignore you, and then, or they just walk out as you're walking in, and you notice that more than once. There's, you're not invited to be part of the work culture. So, for example, you don't go with, or you're not invited to team lunches, or you don't have chit chats in the kitchen, because when you walk in, they walk out. So those are signs. And if you're seeing those signs, you should really, take note and gauge whether it is bullying or what, because really it has serious health and physical health and mental health implications.
Oh yeah, big time. Both sides of the fence. It's definitely not all physical. It's not all mental. Some poor buggers cop both sides in the same situation, which is horrendous, really. But yeah, it can. I mean, I tend to find now that physical's way more traumatic than physical. Like anything emotional is going to be lingering effects a lot more than anything physical whatsoever, because it's just shown now that they're the scars that stay. Like, you can cop a physical beating, you'll be over it in a week, but one psychological barb can stay with you for a lifetime. So that's gotten pretty horrendous now.
Yeah, but funny, what they're also finding is, like, on the physical side as well, people's blood pressure is increasing. Even there's type 2 BTs, like there's it kind of contributes to that. People are getting headaches and migraines. Like, I know when I'm stressed or really stressed, or when people experience trauma, they have severe headaches or migraines. And this impacts us because, that can lead to other things, strokes and heart attacks. And so it's really serious in that sense. And then also on the mental side, it's the depression, the anxiety, which can get more inflated or inflamed and just take you downhill, emotionally. Just have all those feelings, and you just don't know what to do with it, if it's real or not real. And I guess that's what people struggle with, because what they say about bullying is not visible, because often you don't see the signs. And even you yourself, you think it's happening, but you think, am I losing my mind? Is this real? Can this be real? Why would anyone do that to me?
Yeah, and unfortunately for so many different reasons.
Yeah.
And Adam's got a question here a bit earlier. He's asked, what mindset do you think a bully has before they pick a target and strike?
Well, so research has shown, and I've read, that often they target. So the mindset is either one of, because I can, and so it would usually be subordinates that get treated like that. Often they say it's people that are in the minority, or even people who have been marginalized are getting more of the bullying. And then the other things is that, they're fearful of their jobs. So they're feeling like they're not good enough. I would say that would be the mindset, or and that's why they need to assert this dominance and this power over people, or their way is the only way.
Yeah, and I think the mindset really depends on the situation and what sort of bullying you're seeing. If it's targeted, systematic bullying in the workplace, from a colleague to another one, his mindset could just be, my career is everything. I'm going to do whatever it takes to be higher up the food chain. If it's peer-to-peer on the same level, it could just be flat out jealousy. It could just be, this guy seems to be getting everything that I want. It's not fair. Some bullying could even be from something that's totally false. What somebody is seeing as real that isn't happening. Like the bully could be going, oh, this person's getting favoritism. They seem to be getting all the best jobs and I'm not getting it. And that might not even be happening, but that could be enough to flick them over into that bully switch as well. So I think the mindset really depends on the situation, but most of the time it's going to be coming from a place of a lack of self-worth, a bit of judgment of self, and probably not believing that they're up to the level of people around them. Like 9 times out of 10 in my experience, the bully is the most insecure person in the room. Yeah, and they're much stronger with friends. Bullies aren't as tough one-on-one. So you'll find if they can make little snide remarks and they've got their little posse that has a giggle with them when they say it, they're going to be much more proficient in dishing out this sort of stuff than if they're just on their own, because then the person they're bullying might bite back and they won't even know what to do. So, so many different things can be going on in a bully's mind. It all depends on the situation.
Yeah. And like they say, bullying can be male and female. It can be directed at anyone.
I think the female side's definitely elevated a lot in the last at least 10 years, probably 20. There's been a lot more, especially the physical violence side. You see a lot more physical violence now, female to female, than there ever used to be. And I'm sure it's just as bad, if not worse, on the verbal side of things as well. So, yeah, it doesn't – there's no particular type. There's no particular person. There's no gender. There's no race. There's no nothing. A bully can come from every single avenue and walk of life known to man. There's it's no stereotype.
And I guess the sad thing is that, like you said earlier, you can't walk away. The harassment goes home with you. And it can be online harassment. It can be telephonic. It can be, I guess online it's text messages as well, or where they want you to work longer hours. So it just becomes a really unbearable place. And it's not just the physical place at the work that becomes unbearable, because it's actually you taking it home with you. So it's constantly in your head, it's in your mind.
And I think that's a big side effect that can be ignored. When the person being bullied has to carry this stuff with them 24/7, that's going to tend to affect their relationship with their partner, their kids, even their friends and other colleagues outside of work, because their mind's just getting attuned to being a victim all the time and having to deal with this constant abuse, that they're not really ever feeling comfortable around the people that are normally a safe space either, because your mind starts working overtime and you're getting that false evidence jumping out at you. And especially if you're getting bullied by multiple people, then you can really feel like the walls are closing in and everyone has that chance to want to take a shot, which is pretty horrible place to be.
Yeah. And the thing about like what they say about bullying is that it really makes the person feel physically and mentally unsafe. And that is a scary place to be in. If you can't rely on feeling safe in your own house or your own environment, and then nevertheless your thoughts are constantly on this, it's really to be mentally and physically unsafe is really it's quite sad, and people experience that all the time in some workplaces where maybe management is not aware or they are just not paying attention, or that's the culture. They don't think there's anything wrong.
Sometimes it's easy to turn a blind eye and just, if business is going well, you tend to forget about the people that are making it that way and just concentrate on the numbers. It's a easier way than having to get caught in a difficult conversation and actually having to lead, I think, sometimes.
Absolutely. And I think that's what Adam's asking as well. He's saying, do you think the employer tries and protects him and his company over taking action against it when an employee gets bullied? I must say, I saw this firsthand and I was quite shocked. Actually, a friend of mine, well, she became more of a friend of mine once the whole situation started, because I could see she needed the support. She was like, I am being bullied by my manager and I have reported it. And what they did is, instead of having a one-on-one conversation with her, she said, instead of them having a one-on-one conversation with me to find out what's happened, why am I saying this, they brought the manager in.
Yeah, to make it really uncomfortable.
To make it really uncomfortable and to make her feel really unsafe, and like, why wouldn't you want to hear both sides of the story? Why wouldn't you want to hear it individually? Like, you know, you have to protect all employees, not just the ones that, like you said, you think are doing a good job or bringing in business. And that's the thing. It really depends on the company. It depends on whether they take mental health seriously and whether they take these allegations seriously. And so I think the employer will try to find a solution, but it really depends on who the bully is in some cases. You hear those kinds of horrible stories all the time.
And it can be very, very difficult as an employer. Like, I know from running my own businesses and having staff and things, you can't always, like, I know we're talking about bullying and the victims of bullying, but unfortunately we've also found a time in our space here where there are people that are happily going around to make things up to benefit themselves, which I suppose you could call reverse bullying. So it's very easy to just go, he said this, employer goes, well, they're a bad person, sack them. When they do a bit of background check and find that none of that actually happened, then the lawsuit for sacking someone unlawfully ends up being a lot worse. So I think there's a lot of factors that have to come into play, and you do have to do due diligence on these things. And like Tessa said, you've got to have independent interviews individually, see where that goes first, see if anything marries up. Then if it seems like mediation can work, that can be a great path. You can bring the people together if it looks like it's a misunderstanding. Or you may just find that it is even someone that slightly doesn't have the skills to handle constructive criticism, and that person is actually trying to help them do a better job, but they just take it as any feedback's bad and can't be told, which I've certainly come across a few times from people that just the slightest little thing that they could do differently blows up into, oh, you think I'm no good, this is rah. And it's like, no, I didn't say that. I'm trying to guide you into how to improve something. So yeah, it's a really fine line, but I'm also, on top of that, I'm 100% certain there are employers out there who deliberately want to turn a blind eye, don't want any part of it, and just have the hope that it's all just going to melt away and disappear. Or deep down, realistically, they probably hope that the person getting bullied just quits and the headache goes with them. Then they don't have to worry. They'll just go get another job and it's not their problem anymore.
And that's what happens most times, where the person who is being traumatized, who is being bullied, is the one that loses their job or chooses to get out of the hellhole that they feel they are in, taking care of themselves. And this is exactly what happened to this friend of mine. She just said, I can't take this. I am losing my mind because actually no one cares, which was quite sad and quite shocking. We were all shocked. And this is why bullying is so invisible. Because, you know, that person does it so sneakily sometimes, very manipulative. I mean, although I find there's always telltale signs if you're willing to look, but they will treat you so wonderfully, and the next person they will be shocking to. So you will never think that of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's the thing. They are so clever when they are bullying and when they are manipulating people. They do it in a way that sometimes it can't be traced.
Yeah, there are bullying professionals. There are people that have made an absolute career out of bullying people, and it's worked a treat for them, and they've just gotten that good that, yeah, trying to pick up on it, they know when to say things, they know who's around, they know if anyone could hear anything. They just, yeah, there are definitely professional bullies out there who know every trick in the book to make sure they don't get caught out. It's, yeah.
So true. And you know, they target people as well. They target the ones that are maybe sometimes more quiet, who won't speak up, who is afraid of losing their jobs, who don't maybe put their boundaries as clear as they could. And I mean, we all struggle with boundaries and what that looks like. So this is no blame on anyone, but the bullies see through that, and they know who to, they know who to target. I just want to see what Rob's saying about intimidating behavior. So true, Rob. Intimidating behavior ruins lives. Because, you know, people who are bullied, they don't want to get up and go to work in the morning. They feel physically ill sometimes. And just the thought of going to work puts them into such stress and anxiety, and that impacts their health. It impacts their family because they may be ratty at home, angry that this is happening to them and that they can't do anything about it. And so it's such a scary space to be in for people to be bullied. And I think Steve has jumped off. I just want to see what's happening. Okay. Okay, not a problem. Steve's laptop has decided to restart in the middle of this conversation, but that's all good. He'll jump on when he's ready. I'll just read some of the comments. So, Adam, I agree with you. I love the fact that there should be safe places for employees to go to. Some companies have been so great where they actually have a person who is like a peer-to-peer support person within the organization, and people can go and talk to them and feel comfortable. Just telling them what's going on, getting their feedback, or just explaining or asking for advice. So that's a really, really great place to be. And I agree, Adam. I think if more companies and more workplaces actually get someone mental health trained, it'll really help. Because at the end of the day, it's costing your company millions. And because there's absenteeism, people just don't want to be there. Sometimes it's a drain on the culture, because a bully will have such an impact on everyone. And so everyone tends to then get on edge or feel like they can't be free, they can't just speak to whoever they want. And with what also happens with bullying, and some of the signs you can look out for, is when, for example, you don't get invited to meetings, or important information that you need for projects or for your work doesn't get shared with you. And this can be stressful. And if other team members are seeing that, hey there, you're back.
Yeah, my whole thing just totally crashed, shut down, and said, sorry, we have to restart, driver failure, bloody, I don't know, something mental, but I got back.
You're all good. Yeah, I was just reading some of the comments. Hey, Jenny, how are you? Thanks for joining us. It must be so late for you. Oh my gosh, Jenny is all the way from New Zealand. Yeah. Yeah, now I was just saying some of the things that, how like bullies do sneaky things, and they would sometimes not give you all the information so that you can do your job properly, or they won't invite you to meetings. And that just breeds this culture within the place that is not healthy for anyone.
100%. 100%. There's nothing worse than being excluded, but then being expected to know what everybody else knows when you haven't been party to the conversation. It gives you no chance of being up to speed, and it is a very good way to make someone look like they're not up to task. If you're keeping them totally apart from so you're not on the same page as everyone else, then it's very easy to look foolish and be the person that's not reliable, when it's totally no justification at all, because you haven't done anything apart from be excluded.
Yeah. And that is such a sad and a hurtful place, I guess, to be in. And Caroline said earlier that, yes, encouragement is how to bring the best out of people. I guess it was when we were saying, some people, you need to give them, food for thought, or help them improve in what they need to do better. But the way to do it is to encourage them. But she also says, unfortunately, some people just don't want to change. And that's true as well. You can only give people the opportunity, to change or to do things differently. But I also think it's how you say it and how you bring the topics across, so that people are not offended. And today, because we're so multicultural and we've got so many different like religions, and what's acceptable to say for one person, and how you have to read a person. It's not an easy place to be in a workplace.
It's getting harder and harder.
It's getting harder and harder. And I love the theme for this week's anti-bullying week, which says one kind word. I think that was it. And I think that's so important. One kind word, one kind sentence, a kind comment can make such a big difference to anyone. Steve, when you're having a bad day and someone just encourages you, it makes you feel so good. Just having a heart chat. I mean, often I dump on you. I say, oh, this is what's happening, and blah, 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 blah. And, you give me a different perspective.
Never dumping on me. Well, I find for me personally, like, I know hearing a kind word is great, but giving them out has the same effect. If you can throw a compliment here and there and tell someone they're doing well and they've just done something great, and it doesn't have to be big. It can be really minute. And if someone seems like they're battling, and if you've noticed it throughout the course of a day, or it may be day or weeks, even longer, that's when pulling out the little baby steps of encouragement is going to be so beneficial. And just them doing the smallest thing right, just to actually say, hey, I just saw you did that. Fantastic. That's brilliant. Like, you're on the right track. Just a little bit of acknowledgement and encouragement along the way. Every time you notice it, you do that 3-4 times, and you see their whole persona change and get so much more excited about what they're doing and just improve every step of the way. It's that simple sometimes.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think if we remember that everybody wants to belong, everyone wants to feel part of something, everyone wants to be included. You know, if you understand that, if you know that that's how you feel, make sure that that person who never comes for a cup of tea or never comes for lunch, find out why, you know, and try and encourage them. Look, if they are okay, then that's fine. But often people don't feel welcome, and we don't even realize that. Often they feel like, say, we were talking about cultures before. I think your computer crash is sometimes people need to be invited. They won't just come out of their own.
So
And I think that's so important to give out that kind, you know, helping hand, and say, come with us, we're going for lunch, or I'm going for a walk around the block. Do you want to join me?
yeah,
It's simple things, and it's really small things that can make a big difference to people.
there's so many different personalities. Not everyone's going to be like me and just run up to you and go, "Hey guys, what's going on? What are we doing? We'll do it." I make myself included, but not everyone's comfortable doing that. So it's got to be like, yeah, we've got to take into account every different gamut of personality out there and who's comfortable with what, who isn't. And yeah, totally understand that if you spend your whole life trying to understand every single culture, every single religion, every faith, everything, you'll still never get there. So yeah, you might make a blue here and there. And I think one thing to remember too, if you do offend someone, it's not hard to apologize and just say, sorry, I massively apologize, had no intention of offense. That's just something I'd never personally thought of or heard of before. That's an easy way around it, rather than doubling down and then trying to get them to bugger off because you've been caught out in something that hasn't worked for people. So I think that's something to definitely bear in mind. We're all different, and sometimes you're going to be offended. That doesn't automatically mean someone's picking on you or bullying you. I mean, I hate to say it, this day and age, some people are a little too easily offended and can take things totally out of context rather than having to really, really feel victimized. Sometimes it is just something totally harmless, but there are a few people out there that definitely look at an opportunity to be a victim. It can be preconditioned. You could have spent so long in that space that almost anything's going to come across as a form of bullying because you don't have that self-worth and belief, and like you said before, Tessa, any boundaries in place, that sometimes it's almost impossible to not be bullied when you're that low in your self-esteem and self-worth. You've really got to sort of, which we haven't really touched on, I suppose, is what things can help you if you do feel like you're being bullied or you are being bullied, how you can sort of, I was going to say fight back, probably not the best terminology there, but how to take back a bit of your own control and worth and that sort of thing. There's a lot of different ways to sort of fight back and not be held down by people's views and opinions and words. Obviously, if it's physical and they're a lot bigger than you, you might be in trouble, but that's when your words become even more important and effective, I think, is communication's key. And I see Sandy there. G'day, Sandy. Haven't seen you on for a little while. And so it can't start the communication. And that's where I'm coming from. There are people that aren't going to be comfortable in jumping into being conversation starters. And that's who we have to look out for and welcome in with open arms. And look, once you've given someone the opportunity, we've also got to remember we're not all going to get on. We're not going to be in a dynamic. If you work in a workplace and there's like 100 people on your floor of your office, to think that you're going to make 100 friends is pretty naive and unrealistic. So it's really a matter of working out how to work together best and still be friendly and polite and respectful, because that's something that really is really important, is respect above all else. You can not be friends, but there's no need to belittle and bully. But then if you are in that space, the boundaries is a big one, isn't it, Tessa? Like establishing your own boundaries.
Boundaries is so big, and I mean, that's actually one of the topics we're going to be doing soon, but lots of people don't know how to put their boundaries in place or enough of their boundaries in place. But yeah, it's such a big one. And I agree with what you said. We're not all going to get along. We're not all going to be friends. But I think if you just have the mindset to be respectful, to consider other people, really, you don't have to like them. You have to work with them. As long as they're doing their job and you doing your job, that's fine. But try not to do things that make people feel excluded and intentionally, want to show them up. And what Jenny was saying is, yeah, a bully sometimes is definitely a bit jealous of you, and it's easier to make you look bad so that they're not being found out, because often these bullies are scared of being found out, that they believe that they're not good enough, they're not worthy. And so, the best way to hide your supposed shortcomings is to throw someone else in front of the bus. Put the focus on someone else. And often that's what bullies do. Yeah. And really, guys, if you feel like you're being bullied, start taking that action. So first things first is document it. Document the emails, the notes. Even if there's no name on the notes, keep it in a safe place. Gather the evidence.
And have a conversation.
Yeah. And try and talk to them. And explain how you're feeling. Explain that when you do this is how I'm feeling, and it's just not okay. And as long as I do my work, you should not be talking to me in that way. Or even, and that's where the boundaries comes in, where you can say to someone, I really don't appreciate you belittling me or putting me down in front of the team. If I've done something wrong, please pull me aside and tell me exactly how to improve, or what I did wrong, what I didn't do. Because what actually happens when that happens within the team also loses respect for that person. And then the team starts thinking they can talk to that person the way the manager or the supervisor or the bully is talking to that person. And that's just not acceptable.
No. Yeah, and the team can fracture because they're either looking at it that way and go, we all pick on that person because it takes the heat off us, or they retract in fear thinking they're going to be the next target and they're going to be copping the same grief, and all of a sudden you're achieving hardly anything because everyone's in that land of fear, especially if it is a whole team where it's the boss who's doing the bullying. Then that can really leave a bit of a sour taste in the mouth of everyone else, thinking they're going to be the next target. And yeah, not nice.
And some of the things to do is to say, talk to someone, report the bully. But what happens if it is the boss? Then you need to think about taking this outside in the form of a legal grievance. And know your work policies. Find out what the company's policies on bullying and anything like that is, what they define bullying as, harassment. And if you feel that person is doing that to you, point it out. Share it to someone, talk to others. And if in the end you see that you are not going to resolve it internally, you may need to take this legal, you need to go the legal route, which is not the easiest. Sometimes when people get to that point, they just rather leave.
It was years ago when you could just say, you, me, car park now, and bang, you sort them out there. Doesn't happen anymore.
No. Yeah, I read such a good thing, and I thought, well, not a good thing, but it was kind of funny because often, when we leave school, we leave high school, primary school, and this headline said, yeah, and you get to work and you thought you left the bully in the schoolyard, and now the bully's in a suit and tie, and possibly your manager, your boss. And I mean, that must be so shocking, you know?
Yeah, and yeah, Sandy, I just want to acknowledge Sandy. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thanks, Sandy.
Yeah, sharing a lot in here, and yeah, it's not nice to have come across bullies in different areas and fields. And great news! Getting out from the company at the end of the month. Well, that's going to be a good Christmas present. Get out of toxic culture to move forward into a new year. That's brilliant. And yeah, like we've seen in the messages there too, Sandy, we're always available if you want to have a chat to anybody. Doesn't have to be anything serious. Even if you just want to get something off your chest or ask any questions, and we're certainly always available for you too. We practice reverse bullying. We like to do.
and Sandy, definitely, maybe it's something you need to chat to your work about, because there are a lot of places that offer documents on what companies can implement and how they can prevent this workplace bullying from happening. Just tell the company they're going to be losing lots of money, because if you leave because of a bullying situation, or anyone leaves, it costs the company in the end, because they have to retrain, they have to, there's so much millions going on people staying absent because they just don't want to go into work. They're just so fearful of going into work. And the stats are there that show how much absenteeism is costing different companies. So, yeah, there are quite a few, like I know Heads Up in Australia. They do a lot of office policies, and they do bullying stuff. Safe Work Australia, if you're in Australia though. But there's in many countries, there will be these organizations that can share resources and even, tell you how to deal with these situations. And sometimes they have mediators as well.
It's very difficult because you can't have a one-size-fits-all policy, because you've got, like, you look at a big corporation with thousands of people, or then you've got me who's got the boss, and that's it. You've got to sort of make sure you want to be in a company where they're proactive in finding the best case scenario for what fits them best and their employees best. And I think the wheel's turning, and I think you'll find there are a lot of companies out there that are trying to design this sort of thing around what is the best fit for their organisation and their staff. And they may even have different policies around different areas of their business to suit everybody. So, Sandy's a contractor. Yep, I know that feeling too. I've been a contractor for years, so I know that very well.
Yeah, look at what Sandy is saying. I'm getting myself out of this company at the end of the month.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and that's so sad. Like what I find sad is when you lose good people because of someone else. And that's the one thing companies can do as a start. The same company that this situation happened where this person that I know was bullied, they have great policies, but clearly it wasn't being managed. So they had it, like they were saying all the right things, how to talk to people, how not to talk to people, how like what's considered harassment, what's considered verbal abuse. They had all those things, but it clearly wasn't being managed. So that's also the thing that happens.
A policy is useless without implementation. It's just a sign on the wall, isn't it, really, at the end of the day, if no one's there to guide it through the proper process channels.
Oh, Sandy, I feel for you. When you're under so much stress, sometimes as much as you want to say stay and fight, it's so detrimental to your health, your mental health, your physical health, and that of your family. So sometimes you need to look at finding something else and leaving. So I can understand where you're coming from, and that you're getting out of that company.
Yeah. Sometimes you do need a fresh start as well to reinvigorate yourself. If you've been around, I was chatting to Tessa a while ago, just before the show, saying, look, so many years in one job, sometimes you do need a change of pace, so you almost start bullying yourself. Even I don't.
True. And how we bully ourselves is we've got this negative self-talk and inner critic, and and that's the thing about bullying as well. When you're being bullied or when you're being treated really badly, you lose your self-confidence. You start doubting yourself, whereas previously you know your job, you knew exactly how to do things, how to do everything, and the bully starts breaking that down because you start doubting, is this happening, is this not happening, am I and that's what's so sad about being bullied, is that you start not trusting yourself, and that I guess you're not the problem.
And
that's why people actually go to extreme, sorry Steve, where they do things, they hurt or harm themselves.
100%. And sometimes you can end up, I think, after you've been bullied for so long and you start believing it, then your work can sometimes mirror what you've been bullied about, because you've just lost all that self-worth and belief in yourself, that it can also almost make them prove themselves right to management by saying, see, I told you they couldn't do this, they weren't up to it. But it's just been that steady bullying over a period of time that you lose the will to even want to do things. Like, it just doesn't correlate over time. When you keep getting the same feedback over again, then eventually it's going to go, well, stuff it. Yeah, they're right. I can't do this, and just give up. It's not worth putting in the effort anymore.
And Sandy, you know what? You need to back yourself, my friend. I can see what I've just said has resonated with you. You've got to get yourself out. If that's the only way that you feel you can handle the situation, because if your self-confidence, if you're questioning your knowledge, I hear you, because that's where it goes, and it goes there so quickly, and it's really, really sad. And then it takes a while for you to build your confidence back up. But what you need to start doing is looking for evidence, because you know that you're good at your job, you have the knowledge, but this person or this place is breaking that down. So look at past experiences so that you can see how you've actually, so you have the evidence there. We always need to build evidence, especially when we're questioning ourselves, when we're starting to doubt ourselves. We need to ask ourselves, is that true? No, it's not true. I have done that same job for 10 years, 20 years, and no manager or no company has ever said that about me. So you see, you build that evidence, and so that you can build your self-confidence up again, because it does take time. And yeah, I completely hear you. So if you want Steve or myself, Steve, I'm offering you
100%.
My services, Sandy, if you want to talk, if you want
to, we're all in Melbourne.
In place, all the mental health warriors, we are here for you, and we will support you and help you go through this, because we've experienced this. We've seen it with so many of our clients, people we know. So really, all I can say to you is look for the evidence when you start doubting yourself, and it'll show you that it's false, that you don't need to do that. You don't need to doubt yourself. You don't need to lose your self-confidence over companies that are not good for you, people that are bullying you or treating you with disrespect or putting you under so much stress.
Yeah, it's just one situation in a moment in time. We can all doubt ourselves in the moment, but yeah, you definitely you've obviously been there a while, so you've proven yourself. It's just not the place you're meant to be. So great to see that you're in Melbourne. Tessa's in Melbourne. I'm in Melbourne, so we're all local to you. Certainly, if you ever want to have a chat or catch up, then we're definitely not far away.
Yeah. And this is exactly why we do these shows, because we want to highlight the importance of the things we have in our heads is not always true, you know, like the way we sometimes feel. We can be so hard on ourselves. We can have that inner critic, you know, be so detrimental to us. And so we want to highlight that. We want to share solutions and just support people and make them understand they're not the only ones going through this.
Totally. Perfect way to finish off, Tessa. We've rounded out an hour again by accident. We just sort of can't help ourselves when you get us talking.
So
I can't
we love talking about these things because they are so important to people.
Yeah, and then we've got see, had to put it in there right when I'm about. Well, as soon as I said housekeeping, I'm about to say it. Had to put the reminder there. I was going to say it. I've never forgotten once. Dale will be back with Straight Sane and Sober, 8 p.m. UK time tonight, which will be, what's that for us? That's a nice 7 a.m. start for us Melbourneites. And he's got, I wrote it down, Joe Potosi is his special guest this week, so that'll be awesome. I will be back tomorrow night for the Power Hour of Mindfulness with the birthday girl, the Warrior Queen, Kerry Duval, tomorrow night. And one more shout out. A regular viewer of ours, a guest of mine on Power Hour of Mindfulness not so long ago. Shout out to my mum, Fran Knapp, who's had a little ambulance ride and is in hospital right now, so won't be tuning in. But, yeah, sending her my love and best wishes, and hopefully it's nothing too serious and she'll be back out and tuning into Warrior TV again soon. Everyone in the comments, thank you so much. We appreciate you as always. Sandy, you're a champion. Definitely feel free to reach out to either of us. We're always here. Everyone else that got involved, thank you so much. Tessa, thank you again for bringing all of the tremendous knowledge that you have every week and letting me just bounce around being myself off all of your skills and me just wandering around aimlessly. That's great.
I think you sell yourself too short, my friend. You are a powerhouse of knowledge, and I love doing the show with you because I think you bring so much with your passion and just your generosity. Yeah. And that's it. It's say a kind word. Say a kind word to someone who needs it this week, guys, and every week going forward.
Every day. Someone always needs it, even if you don't realise. Throw out the kind words.
Absolutely.
So, thank you, everyone. Have an awesome day, night, evening, middle of the morning, wherever you're at. Have a great time, and we will see you soon.
Yeah,
Bye.
have a good time, guys. Thank you. Bye.